Welcome to the Clean Slate Podcast, brought to you by CleaRank.com. Today we're looking into Darwinex Zero. It's taking pretty interesting angle in the prop trading space, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah, our CleaRank analysis using the Clear score system gave it a 4.6 out of 5. So it's Clear certified.
Right.
And it definitely breaks the mold compared to most platforms we see.
It really does. So instead of the usual setup, pass a challenge, get a funded account, they've gone for a subscription model. The focus seems to be much more on building up a verifiable, risk-certified trading history. They call them Darwin indices.
Exactly. So what we want to do today is unpack that. Look at what makes Darwinex Zero different.
Yeah, the good and the bad.
The pros, the cons, based on our analysis, and sort of figure out who this platform might actually be right for. Especially if you're thinking long-term growth, maybe attracting investor capital down the line.
Okay, let's start with that core model then. The subscription, it's around, what, $38 or $43 a month?
Yeah, roughly that. And for that fee, you get access to their virtual trading setup.
And the whole point is building this Darwin index. So none of the typical prop firm hurdles. No profit targets, no time limits.
That's right. None of that. They really lean into this idea of zero capital risk, zero limits, zero restrictions.
Zero capital risk meaning just the subscription fee is on the line initially.
Correct. Your trading capital is virtual. And they're quite open on strategy, too, even allowing EA's automated systems.
Which is different. And the end goal isn't just hitting a target in 30 days. It's more about getting noticed.
Yeah, getting noticed by their Darwin EA program. That's their internal seeding allocation. It can go up to $500,000 for the top tier, the gold stage.
Wow, okay.
And then potentially you could attract external investment through the wider Darwinex ecosystem. We know some traders there manage millions.
So it's a pathway rather than a single test.
It's definitely positioning itself as a longer game, building that credible risk-managed track record that investors might actually look at. It's a different measure of success.
Okay, let's dig into the positives then. What did we like? The risk-free trading part seems like a big one.
It really is. Your only financial exposure, initially at least, is that monthly fee.
So if you're confident, but maybe don't want to shell out hundreds for a challenge fee.
Exactly. This lets you prove yourself, build that verifiable history without that big upfront risk or the pressure of blowing a challenge account fee.
And the regulation, that stood out too. They're run by TradeSlide Technologies, which is FCA regulated in the UK.
That's a significant point. In an industry where you see a lot of offshore, less regulated firms, having FCA oversight adds a definite layer of credibility.
Yeah, suggests a higher standard of operation, you'd hope.
Right. It gives you a bit more confidence in the structure itself.
We also noted the analytics they provide, access to Darwinex's own tools.
Yes, their analytical toolkit is quite advanced. It gives traders pretty deep data on performance risk metrics.
Which helps you refine things, presumably?
Absolutely. And it helps in presenting that track record in a way investors understand. It's data-driven.
And the trading freedom, no rules on style, holding times, that's quite different.
Very different from firms that say, no holding over weekends or no news trading. Here is you trade your strategy your way.
Which must appeal to traders who feel restricted elsewhere.
Definitely. It allows for strategies that might not fit into the narrow boxes some prop firms create.
Plus, no ticking clock, no deadline pressure.
Yeah, that lack of time pressure encourages, I think, a more sustainable approach. It's about consistency over the long haul, not just a sprint to hit a target.
Okay, and this permanent allocation unicorn thing,
Yeah.
a 100,000 allocation that doesn't expire.
Yes, that's quite unique. It's a potential long-term prize, you could say.
A tangible goal.
Right. A pathway to managing serious capital without constantly having to re-qualify in the same way you might elsewhere. Though we'll get to the costs of that later.
Good point.
Yeah.
And finally, the platform's MT4 and MT5 integration looks solid.
Yeah, they use the industry standards. Good for backtesting, good for EAs if you use them. Reliable platforms are table stakes, really.
Okay, so quite a few positives there. But let's switch gears. What about the potential downsides? That risk engine adjusting returns, that caught my eye.
Yes. The value at risk, or VAR normalization. This is quite important to grasp.
It sounds like it could significantly cut down your raw percentage gains. The example was like a 5% month could become 0.5%.
It can, yes. The engine standardizes risk across different strategies to make the Darwin indices comparable for investors. But for the trader, seeing your raw P&L adjusted downwards so much, well, it can be tough psychologically.
So you might have a great month personally, but the Darwin performance looks much lower.
Exactly. The focus shifts from just raw profit to generating consistent returns within their target risk framework. That's what attracts capital in their system.
And related to that, the profit splits. Only 15–20% of the adjusted profits from allocated capital. That's low compared to the market standard.
It is much lower than the 80%, 90%, even 100% you see from some challenge-based firms.
So why would someone accept that?
Well, the argument from Darwinex is likely about the legitimacy, the regulation, the potential access to much larger sums of capital long-term from real investors, not just the firm's initial seed money. But yeah, that initial 15–20% is a major trade-off.
It really frames it as an asset management career path, not a quick payout mechanism.
Precisely.
Okay, what else? The learning curve. Darwin's, VAR, D-scores, sounds a bit complex.
It definitely is more complex than hit 10% profit.
Yeah.
There's a specific ecosystem and terminology you need to learn to really understand how you're being evaluated and how to progress.
Might be a barrier for beginners.
Could be, yeah. It takes more effort to get your head around it compared to simpler models.
And the time it takes to scale. Our estimate was maybe 3+ months of solid performance just to reach Darwinex Silver.
Yes, it's not designed for rapid scaling. It emphasizes sustained good performance. So patience is key. It naturally takes time to prove consistency in risk management.
Then there are small extra costs, like the $6 a month for futures data.
Minor, but it adds up if you're a futures trader. It's another little cost on top of the main subscription.
And that permanent allocation. It's not always free, or is it?
No. Getting it instantly costs a one-time fee ranging from €145 up to over 1,000 depending on the terms.
Wow.
There are ways to get it cheaper or free, like meeting performance targets over time or the 3-year subscription perk, but those obviously require commitment and achieving specific results.
Right, so it's a significant potential cost or commitment for that permanent aspect.
Definitely something to factor in.
Okay, let's look at reputation. Our clear reputation score was 4.7, which is strong.
Very strong. And that FCA regulation undoubtedly plays a big part of that. It provides a baseline of trust.
Yeah, you see that reflected in trader feedback. But the profit split model, that does divide opinion, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's probably the most talked about aspect. You see people who value the structure and long-term potential, and others who just can't get past that 15–20% figure compared to alternatives.
So pulling from the trader testimonials, we looked at over 1,200 of them. What were the main things people liked?
They really liked the core idea, the risk-free start, the trading freedom, no time pressure. Many praised the merit-based funding path rewarding skill over time, and the transparency around the Darwin Index performance, the credibility from regulation, and those analytical tools also got mentioned positively quite often.
Makes sense. And the flip side, what were the biggest complaints?
Number one was definitely the 15% performance fee. No surprise there.
Right.
Followed by the slow path to actually getting funded and earning significant income. The complexity of the whole system, the scores, the metrics, was another common frustration.
Any other points?
Some perceived the commissions as high on certain instruments, although that seemed more isolated. And a few mentioned bottlenecks in the Darwinex allocation process during very busy market periods.
Okay, interesting mix there. Let's quickly cover the account types and fees again. Clear score 4.6. It's basically just that subscription, right? €43 or €38 monthly.
That's the core cost, yeah. Covers platform access, the analytics, and your eligibility for Darwinex. They do offer discounts if you pay for longer periods upfront, like annually.
And the extra $6 for futures data we mentioned.
Right.
And that $100K permanent allocation, just to recap the ways to get it.
Sure. Option 1, buy instant access for a one-time fee. Option 2, performance-based access, lower fee, but you have to hit targets. Option 3, the perk for subscribing for 3 years and hitting a 15% return target, then it's free.
So it really pushes towards long-term commitment.
It does. Our takeaway was this model really suits traders aiming for a career, building that long-term track record, less so for quick profits.
Got it. Now, trading conditions also scored 4.6. Big point here is a lack of hard rules.
Yeah, no fixed profit targets, no deadlines. You get access to a lot of instruments too, over 1,500. Forex, futures, ETFs, crypto CFDs.
And risk management isn't a hard drawdown limit, but this VAR normalization engine.
Right. So blowing the virtual account doesn't get you kicked out, but it damages your Darwin rating significantly. Leverage also isn't fixed. It scales based on keeping you within a 6.5% monthly VAR target.
So more dynamic.
And while there aren't traditional consistency rules, things like the D-score and your overall Darwinex rating measure that long-term sustainability. You can't just have one lucky month.
It's just a fundamentally different philosophy, isn't it? Comparing it side by side with a typical prop from challenge highlights that shift from a pass-fail test to continuous track record building.
Absolutely. Different focus, different incentives.
Okay, platforms. MT4 and MT5 offered ClearScore 4.5.
Yep, the workhorses. Standard features, full EA support. MT5 gives you broader access, like stocks and futures, which MT4 doesn't typically have to the same extent on these platforms.
But no C-Trader or NinjaTrader.
No, not currently. So if you're wedded to those, that's a consideration. But MT4, MT5 covers the vast majority.
API access is there for the tech-savvy, but no free VPS or TradingView add-ons.
No, seems not. Those are nice to have, some others offer, but the core trading tools are there.
And execution. Our tracker data looked pretty good.
Generally, yes. Fast execution, minimal slippage reported on both platforms, maybe minor delays and extreme volatility, which isn't uncommon anywhere,
Right.
but overall solid.
And they seem quite transparent about execution, too.
Very. You get detailed execution reports for your trades, even right from the start in the calibration stage. That level of transparency is definitely a positive.
Right, let's talk payouts. ClearScore 4.5. This is where it really diverges. No payouts from the virtual trading itself.
Correct. This is crucial. You only earn money from the 15% performance fee on capital that gets allocated to your Darwin index.
Allocated either by Darwin EA or external investors who choose to back your Darwin.
Exactly. And that fee is calculated quarterly using a high-water mark principle.
Meaning you only get paid on new profits above the previous peak.
Right. And payments are via bank transfer only. No crypto options.
It really is like a mini hedge fund model, or an apprenticeship, as you said, rewarding long-term steady growth.
That seems to be precisely the goal. Attract and nurture traders who can perform like professional asset managers over time.
Okay, last area, customer support. Scored 4.4. Main contact is email.
Yes, email primarily. But our tests show they're pretty responsive, usually under 24 hours.
That's decent.
And they have an AI chatbot that handles a lot of the common stuff, password resets, fee questions, finding tutorials. It seems quite effective for those routine queries.
And active staff in forums.
Yeah, they seem engaged in their community spaces, which is good to see. But no live chat or phone support.
So mainly email and self-service.
Pretty much. Which works for many, but if you need instant human help, it might be a limitation. But the resources seem decent overall.
Okay, so wrapping up on Darwinex Zero, key takeaways. It's regulated, it's subscription-based, it's all about building that long-term Darwin Index track record.
And it offers this unique, albeit potentially slow, path towards attracting real investor capital.
It really feels aimed at serious traders thinking about asset management as a career path, rather than just trying to pass a challenge for a quick payout.
Completely agree. That seems to be the ideal user profile.
And the trade-offs are clear. That lower profit split, the potentially slower scaling, balanced against the credibility, the regulation, and the risk-free environment to build your history.
It's a different proposition. You weigh what matters most to you, immediate payout potential, or long-term, verifiable track record building in a regulated setup.
Well put. So a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Could focusing on building that transparent, risk-managed track record, even if it means a smaller initial slice of the pie, actually be a more sustainable and maybe ultimately more rewarding path in the long run?
It's a fundamental question about career strategy and trading, really. Definitely worth thinking about.
Indeed. For a more detailed breakdown and to compare Darwinex Zero using our full ClearScore analysis, head over to CleaRank.com.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to the Clean Slate Podcast.